السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ثم أما بعد. The author الحافظ عبد الغني بن عبد الواحد المقدسي rahmahullah says in his book Umdat Al Ahkam, under the book of the prayer and the chapter of the rose and the prayer, he said, the 71st hadith, under the authority قال عن عبد الله بن مسعود بن عباس رضي الله عنهما. قال عن عبد الله بن عباس عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أنه قال: بت عند خالتي ميمونة فقام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي من الليل فقمت عن يساره فأخذ برأسي فأقامني عن يمينه. So the author rahmahullah says, under the authority of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he said, I slept over at the house of my aunt Maymuna. Maymuna is the mother of the believers, and she is the maternal aunt of Ibn Abbas. May Allah be pleased with both of them, and may Allah be pleased with the mother of the believers, Maymuna. So she was the wife of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she was the aunt of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. And as is known, Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, this great scholar from the scholars of Islam, and this Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma was known to be diligent in learning, seeking knowledge, and studying and sitting with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, learning from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and from that, he used to learn the statements and he used to sit in the gatherings of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learn from him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And likewise, he wanted to learn about the night prayer of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he was in his house and how did he pray the night prayers. So may Allah be pleased with him, he asked permission from his aunt Maymuna to sleep over at her house so that he would see the actions of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learn from him directly. May Allah be pleased with him. قال فقام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي من الليل. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got up and stood up and started praying the night prayers. قال فقمت عن يساري. So he said, and then I stood up to his left side. قال فأخذ برأسي فأقامني عن يمينه. So he grabbed me from my head and he made me on his right hand. This hadith is an evidence that it is what is legislated and what is better if two people are praying together, that they stand when two people are praying together, that the imam is on the left side and the ma'mum is on the person who is following in the prayer is on the right side. The imam is on the left, and the second person is on the right. This is what is legislated. This is what is better, and that's what's recommended. There is a difference of opinion between the people of knowledge in regards to the validity of the prayer if the one who is following the imam was to stand on his left side. If his right side is empty, meaning that if there was someone on his right side and someone wanted to stand on his left side, then his prayer is valid, and that would be okay. However, that would be that would not be the recommended way, because as we mentioned before in the previous class, that if there is an imam and two or more people behind him, that they stand in a row behind the imam, as was mentioned in the hadith of Anas radiyallahu anhuma, where he said, وَصَفَفْتُ أَنَا وَالْيَتِيمُ وَرَاءَهُ. I stood alongside the yatim, the orphan, behind the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Go back to the previous class, inshallah. We mentioned and we talked about this topic. And so if there is an imam and two people, the two people are supposed to be behind him. However, if there is an imam and one person, what is legislated is for him to be on his right side. If he stood on his left side, if there was someone on his right side already and he stood on his left side, that is not what is that's not how they're supposed to stand. They're supposed to stand behind him. However, their prayer is valid. Now, if there was no one on the right side of the imam, and the only person, so there were only two people. There was an imam and a ma'mum, one who's following the imam in the prayer. If he was to stand on his left side, there is a difference of opinion between the people of knowledge in regards to the validity of his prayer. Some say it is invalid, and some say it is valid. The stronger opinion is that it is valid, and that is based upon this hadith, because this hadith is an evidence that if that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he stood on the left side of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam moved him back to his right side, and he considered his prayer to be valid, and he did not, for example, tell him that his prayer is invalid, and therefore the stronger opinion, and most of the people of knowledge, they say his prayer is valid, even if he was to stand on his left side. And also from from this hadith is that if one was to stand on the wrong side, on the left side of the imam, that it is legislated for the imam to move him back to his right side. And in some narrations of the hadith is that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually moved him from behind him. So the imam is not supposed to move him if the imam wanted to move. Especially this happens, especially with children. So, for example, a father is praying and his son comes to join him and pray with him, and he doesn't know. He stands on his left side. The father, it is legislated for the father, or in general, someone who's older or someone who knows. For a new Muslim comes and wants to join the prayer and he doesn't know and he stands on the left side, it is legislated for the imam to move him back to the right side. However, he does not move him from in front of him, and rather he moves him from behind him. He makes him go around him from behind him, not in front of him. This hadith is also an evidence that slight movements in the prayer for the correctness of the prayer and the perfection of the prayer is permissible. There's no harm in slight actions, such as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he moved Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma from one side to the other, and likewise Ibn Abbas himself, he moved in the prayer from the one side of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the other side. But this movement is for the correctness and the perfection of the prayer, and the movement for the correctness of the prayer is permissible. There's no harm in it. Also, this hadith is an evidence that it is permissible and legislated if two people are going to pray together, even if one of them was a child, that it is permissible to have a child in the row in the prayer, and that he by himself is considered a second person. So even as was mentioned in the previous class as well, in the hadith of Anas radiallahu anhuma, that he stood alongside the orphan, and in this case Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma was a young child or a young boy at the time, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he considered his prayer with him to be correct, and so it is permissible and legislated to stand alongside a child in the prayer, in the congregation of prayer. And this hadith is also with his statement, فَأَقَامَنِي عَنْ يَمِينِهِ فَقُمْتُ عَنْ يَسَارِهِ فَأَخَذَ بِرَأْسِي فَأَقَامَنِي عَنْ يَمِينِهِ. I stood on his left side, and he grabbed me from my head and moved me to his right side. Both of those statements, on his left side and right side, it means he lined up with him. They were in the same row. They were at the same level. Unlike what some people think, that the imam is supposed to be a step or two ahead of the ma'mum, and that the ma'mum, if two people are praying together, that the person who's following the imam is supposed to be a step behind him. This is not correct, and rather they stand in the same row at the same level. They line up together. And this hadith is, of course, an evidence of the legislation and the excellence of the night prayer, and that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was diligent in praying the night prayers sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And likewise, the Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he learned and he learned the practical application of the night prayer and how the Messenger ﷺ prayed the night prayers. And in this hadith is an evidence of the diligence of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma in seeking knowledge and in learning the religion. And this hadith is also an evidence that if one was to start the prayer as an individual, one started the prayer by himself, and then someone wanted to join him, that it is legislated for him and permissible for him to change his intention from being an individual or that he is praying by himself, that to become the imam in a congregation, and that is permissible. So he changes from being an individual praying by himself to being an imam who's leading the salah. There's no harm in that. And this is, if someone, for example, he wanted to join someone else in the prayer, it is okay. It is okay for him to join him, and the person who was praying becomes the imam. Now, and those are some of the benefits of this hadith, and there are more. Inshallah, this will suffice. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of us the beneficial knowledge and the righteous good deeds, and to allow us to steadfast upon His deen and upon the Quran and the Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf of this Ummah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت